So, as I alluded to before, one of the major expenses in any operation is going to be the manpower involved. Are you going to have a paid daily crew? Are you operating daily? Are you operating only on weekends? Is it every weekend or only select weekends? But what is your arrangement? And every place is going to be different because every place has to suit the area that it's with. Some place like California State Railroad Museum, they're going to be open every day and every weekend. So you're going to be looking like, well, same with Mid-Continent in Wisconsin. Memorial Day to Labor Day, you're blocked full. Every day is taken care of. And so you're going to have a hired crew because you're not going to have volunteers for every single day, unless they're very committed volunteers or they're retired people that want to stay away from their wife or significant other or anything like that. So that's how you figure it out. That's a factor in the payment. What sort of operation are you doing? Is it diesel fuel, for the locomotives, or are you having to truck in coal? Are you having to manage, various stages of equipment, or is your equipment just pretty standard stock? You're running this set only. Like in Ely, Nevada, that they have the Long Island Railroad train set, and that's pretty much what they run. Or in Mid-Continent, you have the Lackawanna coaches. Various other groups have a specific train set that is their general service train set, and they don't have to worry so much about it. But if you're running a hodgepodge of this car and that car, and oh, this needs to come out for inspection, or oh, that has a broken part here, things like that, that is always going to be rotating stock. You can't just block out, okay, this is what's going to happen, and this is the easy part. Illinois Railroad Museum, they're a little bit different because they're a trolley and railroad museum, so a lot of their traction cars, their electric stock, is just a single piece. It comes out and runs around and happy, happy. So they don't have to worry about adding or subtracting cars. They just, if they're going to have more people, add another motorman, add another trolley to the loop. The train up and down the actual line, that remains as a fairly static set, but it depends on just what's going on. It could be a diesel locomotive and the passenger car set. It could be, say, the South Shore Electroliner or something like that. It depends on just what's going on and what's getting out for the day. But so that you have that as a consideration as well. What kind of maintenance do you have to do on it? Are they roller bearing cars or the plain bearing cars? Is the locomotive really fussy? And well, like one locomotive I was dealing with is an Alco. It would literally drink about 7 gallons of motor oil a day because it had leaks all over the place. It was well beat. It was built in 1953, and that's about it. It wasn't, it was maintained, but it wasn't overhauled or rebuilt or anything like that. So it would mark its trail on the track. So you have to factor that in. Is, what's your fuel source? What's your maintenance source? How much can you run it before it blows its brains out? How many cars can the train haul? If you're going to be doing a special event, do you have to add a different locomotive and another crew with it? Well, usually if it's a special event, you have volunteers with you, so that's not so much of a problem, but it's your daily revenue that gets to be the problem because people get bored. So that's a consideration in your ticket price. What sort of facilities are you offering? Is it just a train ride, or is it train ride and a large museum? Is it a small museum? Is it sporadic service? Those factors, those have to be factored in as well. For most places that are a daily service during, well, I call it the run season. It's when you're operating every day of the week, typically Memorial Day to Labor Day, like I said, during the tourist season, during the run season. You have to consider what that means for scheduling crews, because if you have a very active volunteer base, then you can not have to have somebody work the weekends, and a paid employee work the weekend as far as train crews, and have that covered. But if you have only sporadic volunteer base or an intermittent volunteer base, then you really need to have somebody there to cover those days. And that gets into crew hours, that gets into rotation. Do you do it 5 days on, 2 days off? Do you have somebody just for the weekend and a crew just for the week? Or do you try to do a 3-day, 4-day rotation kind of thing? Or just 4 days on, 4 days off? It gets to be a headache. And so that's a personnel consideration. Another consideration is, are you a standalone business? Is this a railroad that's off in the middle of nowhere with no major draw, as to somebody come here, uh, other than the railroad. Because if you're next to a major municipality, that's easier. People will come to the major municipality and stop by the railroad because they're there already for whatever, or they'll come to the railroad and stop by the municipality. If you're in a very tourist area like Wisconsin Dells area, like Mid-Continent is, then you'll have people that come up for the amusement venues and stop by the railroad. If you're off in the middle of nowhere, uh, then that's a different consideration. You have to see how much of a draw your railroad actually is if you're going to try a high-end price point. We'll get to those shortly, but a few of the other considerations is your track condition. Do you have to maintain it harder than others? Because various localities require different maintenance schedules. If you're in a desert, you're not going to be doing a tire replacement all the time as if you're in a swamp. If you're in an area that has high groundwater, you're going to be doing tire replacement and probably dealing with things like mudslides or some degree of landslide that you have to watch about maintaining your right of way, maintaining the banks on your right of way. If you're in a rock bound area, you might have to worry about a little bit about landslides, but it's not as concerning if the rock strata is stable. There's various considerations like that. Are you in a floodplain? Is the river going to come and consume you? That's one of the considerations that you have to think about, and you have to be able to account for that in maintenance, in even operating scheduling. Because what happens if the river rises and you don't feel it's safe to operate? That some part of your track will likely go squishy or even wash out. You have to take that into consideration. Of you might have a month even that you can't operate if you're doing either daily or a weekend, every weekend service. So you have to kind of factor that in for the cost of a ticket, because you're going to have to account for either the maintenance or the lost revenue to maintain everything on an even keel for the business. So that gets us onto the various price point concepts, and that will be my next segment, which will be coming up.